Hello, good afternoon, viewers, and welcome to another exciting moment on CACTV television. Today is another beautiful day, and I'm glad to announce the program we're about starting. It's actually something outside what we've been doing in the past, and that had to do with governance. And when we talk about governance, we have to look into politics. And under that, we are looking at a caption that we call Church and Politics Today. To help me do justice to that, I'm not alone in the studio. I have a very notable speaker, a social analyst. Before I give you all the details about him, before I introduce my guest, let's go on a quick break. And when we get back, I will do the full introduction of my guest, and you'll enjoy the program with me. Welcome back. Like I was saying, our guest today is a very patriotic fellow. He is the executive director for Center for Rights and Grassroots Initiative. He's also the project manager at Media Assembly. That's one of a social analyst. Also, is Mr. Nelson Ekujumi. Good to have you on the program, bro.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being with you.
It's been an age, and having you here is more of a blessing to me and even to our audience at home.
Yeah, I'm humbled to be in your studio.
Okay.
And greetings to our viewers.
Yeah. So today we'll be looking at church and politics. Today, I want us to strike a balance between the church and the politics at hand. And if I may ask, I want you to tell us, where is the place or the position of the church in the politics of Nigeria?
Well, thank you very much. If you recollect, or if we remember, when we were growing up, we used to be told that politics is a dirty game. And as we grew older, we found that statement very distasteful, in the sense that if you say politics is a dirty game, then who makes it neat, or who tidies it up? And for me, I think the time has come for the Christian community to be actively involved in the politics of this country. Because whether we like it or not, people who are church members, people who are Christians, people who go to church, are people that are citizens of Nigeria. And be that as it may, it is imperative on the church to be interested in not only in the spiritual well-being of the members, but as well as the physical well-being of the members. You and I know for sure that unless a family is, economically viable, it might be difficult for there to be unity. It might be difficult for there to be peace in the land. It might be difficult for there to be progress. That is why the church must make it as a point of priority to always encourage its members, to go and exhibit those virtues, those teachings that our Lord Jesus Christ taught us in the governing of the affairs of men. Because there's this adage, or there's this saying that all it requires for evil to thrive over good is for good men to keep quiet. So if we believe that, we are being taught how to be good, we are being taught to do the right thing in church, and we find a situation whereby our country is not where it's supposed to be, whereby we see our country, we look at our children, we look at the state of affairs of our country, it becomes imperative on us that, look, if some people are out there, messing up things, then it is our responsibility as Christians to also go in there and say, look, this is not how it's supposed to be. Because if the physical well-being of the people is not well taken care of, in a way or majorly, it will affect their spiritual well-being. You can imagine a family in which the husband has no job. Most of the time, you will find out that it will be only the wife and the children that will be coming to church. But when you have a society that, there's good governance, where people can go to bed with their eyes closed, where people are assured of their 3 square meal a day, then you will find the unity in the family. Because I'm sure the role of the church is to preserve the family as one.
Yeah.
But when there's economic disarray in any society, the unity of the family will be very, very threatened. And I'm sure that the church will not be interested in having a divided family, which in effect means a divided society.
Wow. From our own hand here, from CAC perspective now, we pray a lot, lots of spirituality, lots of evangelism, trying to pray against demons.
Yes.
When we rate governance, we are more of spiritual, thinking that except we pray, things might not get better. But the likes of China, developing countries, when I look at them, the developed countries, when I look at them, that how come these people are, making waves, and a praying nation like Nigeria is behind? Is it that the church is not participating in politics, or we are at disadvantage in terms of producing leaders who are godly and accountable?
Yes, the church is not participating enough. Don't also forget that in the Bible, Jesus said that prayer without work
Is dead.
So it is imperative on the church to ensure that, in as much as the church is praying fervently, the physical well-being must also be taken care of. And the physical well-being has to do with the governance, has to do with the economic prosperity of members. If, there's this Yoruba adage also, permit me to say it, that ebi kin wonu, koro mi iwo, meaning that somebody who is hungry will not listen to any other thing but self-preservation to keep him alive. So if we are preaching the spirituality, the physical well-being has to do with the governance, has to do with the politics, has to do with us transferring those virtues, those values that we are being taught in church, to live a godly life, to be truthful to one another, like the 10 commandments. If we transfer it to the larger society, the society will be better for it, because the church is just a microscope of the larger society, even though the church is only for a particular set of people. Now I'm talking about the Christian folk. Okay. But the larger society embodies other religious faith and even atheists. So if the church is interested in we are being taught to be good to one another, and we find out that those who are ruling us or those who are involved in politics are not exhibiting these characters, are not putting it into practice, and we know that these values, these virtues that we have been taught, it is the only way that we can have an orderly society. It is the only way we can have a peaceful society. So it behoves on us that those things that we know we are taught, that we know can move our society forward, that we know can make even the church to prosper, then it is our responsibility to to move into that area of human affairs, because the church should not be about spirituality alone. Like I said earlier, the church should also be concerned about the physical well-being of its members, because if the members are not economically sound, a lot of times you find out that it will go against those things that the church preaches in favor of. For example, a lot of times you see us come to the church solemnizes marriages.
Yes.
So if there is no economic well-being, that role that the church has played will always be torn apart by the larger society. That is just an instance of why it is imperative on the church to be interested in the political affairs of its people.
Well, from your first point, you said politics is evil.
Yes, they say the politics is dirty.
Politics is dirty. Politics is this.
Yeah.
Now, how do we preach otherwise? How do we come to say no? It isn't. It isn't evil.
Yes, it is. It is not only by preaching. It is by taking the step of faith. That the church will encourage members to join political parties, and if you get there, if you get into those, because the church must not be in favor of one political party, since the church is made up of a conglomeration of people. And you and I know very well, like we always say, that variety is the spice of life. Members of the church we can be in party A, they can be in party B, they can be in party C. It is not left for the church to tell its members that go into these parties, like Jesus said, go into the world and preach the gospel. It is not the responsibility of the church to tell its members, go into these parties and preach the gospel. Go and convert those that are yet to give their life to Christ, such that Christly conduct will pervade our political atmosphere. So that is the responsibility the church should, take up now. It is not enough for us to just sit down in the church or in our homes and be preaching and be praying. Because if we are preaching and praying and we are not putting into practice, like Jesus said, that prayer without work, then we'll be dancing around in circles.
That's a very beautiful one, sir. Let's take a quick break again, and then we'll come back to the point he just made. Welcome back. If you are just joining us, it is church and politics today that we are talking about right now, and Mr. Nelson Kujumi is doing justice to that title. He has made quite some beautiful points on how the church should participate in the politics today. And to take us further, so Mr. Nelson, I want you to look into this situation. The narrative of Edo State coming election is overwhelming, and we have a pastor here, contesting against incumbent governor. How do you think, what are your hopes, what are your predictions as per who is winning?
Well, the situation in Edo, it's not too palatable, if you ask me.
Okay.
Because if you monitor events from Edo, you recognize that the candidates, just like it has been in our culture, rather than propagating their manifesto, that look, if office in the first 1 month, in the first 30 days, in the first 100 days, this is what I will do. Within XY time, this is what I will do for the people. Because governance is about solving humans' problem, ameliorating the human condition. But unfortunately, we have a situation whereby all the candidates, what they have been doing is throwing mud at one another. And in that way, they are not helping, the electorate. So the church should take it as a responsibility, because I'm sure the candidates are going to approach the churches for its blessings. It's not the role of the church to redirect the narrative, to redirect, the psyche of the politicians, that look, this is not what you are supposed to be doing. Go out there, tell us what you want to do, how you want to make life meaningful for the average citizen of Edo. How are you going to provide jobs? Are you going to provide security? Are you going to provide the basic infrastructures that will make life meaningful for the average resident or indigene of Edo? So I think the church owes us that responsibility to help, redirect the narrative, because the topic we are addressing this today is about the church and politics. So it is not only for the church to pray. The church can set the agenda that no, this is not how the society should run. This is how we want the society to go. Because if there's disorderliness in Edo today, the church will be affected. Yeah. If there's crisis in Edo, the church will be affected. That's why the role of the church is very, very paramount in politics. So for Edo, one only hopes that the politicians would, redirect their focus from abusing one another and tell the people of Edo that this is what I want to do for you, people of Edo. This is my manifesto for the next 4 years. This is where I'm going to take Edo to. This is where I've met Edo. I've met Edo at maybe 10%. Within the next 4 years, I'm going to take Edo to 40% stakeholders, to play by the rules, to ensure that before, during, and after the election, that peace reigns. It is only when there is peace that we can talk of, progress. It is only when there is peace that we can talk of development. It is only when there is peace we can talk of delivering on the ideals of governance. So the candidates, the voters, the political parties, the civil society organizations, the electoral umpire, and the church. When I'm talking about the church, I've taken all the religious bodies, into perspective that they should admonish all the stakeholders to keep the peace and ensure that they focus more on what they want to do within the next 4 years, whoever gets into the governance office.
Wow, that's quite deep. Okay, let's bring it into the season we have globally. COVID-19 has done us all the woes we can imagine. The church is locked, the church has been opened, the church has limits, there are preventions and cautions and what have you. Now, election is coming in Edo.
Yeah.
What would you say should be our preparedness? Or how do you think we are supposed to manage the situation, containing the election and not spreading the virus?
Yes, the National Center for Disease Control, as well as the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, has interfaced with the electoral umpire, and they have, come together to issue some guidelines. Okay. And part of those guidelines they issued was that they admonished the parties to do less of outdoor campaigns, because when the parties organize rallies, it brings in a lot of people. Yeah. And one of the ways of spreading coronavirus is when people come together, unprotected and what have you. And the INEC is also encouraging voters that when you are going to the voting points, please put on your face mask. You must recognize that the responsibility to prevent the spread of COVID-19 or coronavirus is one's individual responsibility. You don't need to be told that you should keep safe. But unfortunately, again, I've said it on several media channels, I've never seen a society where people distrust even when they see the truth. People will tell you, oh, have you seen anybody have COVID? And I'll ask them, those people that you had on radio or TV that have died, do you think they are mere information that it is not real? So the conduct, the attitude of our people with regards to coronavirus is not encouraging at all. You go to some markets and I'll ask myself, in fact, at times I'll just stop by the way and I'll ask, please, is it that there's no more coronavirus? Why are we like this? Is it until we suffer the calamity of huge numbers? Is that what we are waiting for to convince us, when we hear every day the relevant agencies of state roll out statistics of people who have died or people who have recovered? It's like we are not taking it serious. And I just hope the election will not be an avenue for us to upscale the curve instead of flattening it, that like we have been preaching. So I expect that the elections, that the people will recognize that, look, COVID-19 is real, that they have to stay safe, because if you contract COVID-19, it takes some days to manifest. Yes. And unfortunately, if you are a man with wife and children, the first casualty that will contract it from you are definitely going to be your family members. Yes. You recognize that in most cases, when a report comes out that Mr. X has tested positive for COVID, the next advice that the medical authorities give is that let your wife go and isolate and your other family members. So yes, we should not, because of our own irresponsibility, put the lives of other members of our family as well as the larger society at risk. So it is important for us to also use this medium to encourage the electoral umpire that they should ensure that on the day of election, there are alcohol-based hand sanitizers at the polling stations, such that immediately you want to